getting colder outside, and in case you didn't notice, it's
the
Christmas
holidays,
time.
That's right.
So we are all dressed up for Christmas, but today we are going to show you how to make probably the most quintessential hot cocktail there is.
That's right. We're gonna do the Hot Toddy today, so stay tuned.
So as with many cocktails, the history is a little bit lost to time, but we did a little bit of research and tried to kind of piece together the history of the hot toddy. So some people say it originates with a Hindi word called taddy, right?
Taddy, right.
So T-A-D-D-Y. And this was first documented in the early 1600s, correct?
Absolutely.
Chris did the research. I'm just cheating. But of course, the fact that it was documented in the 1600s means it existed before that for who knows how long.
Yeah, it's probably a much, much older drink. And the word toddy actually means a beverage made from fermented palm sap. So my thought is it's probably something we touched upon last month with punches. It's probably a Batavia Iraq.
Probably something similar. I mean,
yeah.
again, a lot of those punches originated from that same part of the world.
Right.
And so it would make sense that they were using the same spirit. And once again, you've got your spirit, you've got water, you've got acid, and then you've got spices. It's almost just like a punch, except it's hot and typically served in just single servings. So you can kind of see that it's actually an accidental but perfect caveat from last month to head on over to making the hot toddy.
Yeah, I'm excited.
If you're gonna make a hot toddy, here's what you're gonna need. Obviously, you're gonna need a lemon. We've already cut this guy in half, but that's gonna be our citrus for today. How much, what is that, 3/4 ounce?
About 3/4 ounce, half an ounce, really depending on taste.
And then you can make this one with scotch. I know somebody mentioned in the group yesterday that wondering what kind of scotch we're gonna use, but I think it's pretty common to make it with whiskey as well. We actually were sent a neat little sample pack from Heaven Hill, so we're gonna use the Evan Williams for this one today. Hopefully I can figure out how to get it open.
It's a pretty fancy box.
I know, it's pretty fancy, but so you're gonna want some whiskey. How many ounces of that guy?
About 1.5, but if you're feeling under the weather, you may want to kick it up to about 2. Just depending on how you're feeling. Also some honey. So we were sent a sample of honey as well. So we'll use some honey as our sweetening agent and hot water. And then we'll garnish it with a fun little lemon peel with some cloves studded in it. And that's pretty much it.
Absolutely. And so where do we start with the glass? I'll see if I can get this guy open.
So one of the things to remember about hot drinks in general is you want to heat the glass. That could be anywhere from a 5 to 10 degree or probably difference if you don't heat the glass. So I've already preheated this glass. I'm going to go ahead and dump it out. All right.
Again, if you saw my post from earlier this week, don't preheat a glass with boiling hot water if said glass was previously cold. This story ends badly. It ended really badly for one of our cocktail glasses. But I think everybody probably already knows that. Don't be me, and start with sort of lukewarm, work your way up to super hot. But I don't even know if you need to go super hot. The key here is just to warm up your glass a little bit so that it doesn't cool down your drink too much.
Yeah, so we're just gonna build this whole thing right in the glass here. So we have 1.5 ounces of whiskey. Then I'm gonna do 1 ounce or actually about 3/4 ounce of honey. I've actually melted it in some hot water so it'll flow a lot easier. And then we're gonna do about 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Once again, it's completely up to you as far as how much you wanna put in there. I feel like 1/2 ounce is a good starting point. I'm probably beating you with my antlers right now and I apologize. So just add that in there.
It's the price of being festive.
I know. And that's it. We'll top this off with some hot water.
How much hot water are you usually using?
About 4 to 6 ounces, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And then that is pretty much the hot toddy. We'll add this right into the glass. And the beautiful thing is we've already peeled this. We're setting it with clove. I have a couple more that I'm going to add to this. But the really interesting thing and the fun thing about this is that as these cloves go into the hot water, they're going to steep, and you're going to extract a little bit of that clove flavor into the tea as well. So that's pretty much the hot toddy. Now, this is kind of the Craft Cocktail Club, and you know the hot toddy is a pretty much standard recipe, and you can have variations all across the board. It's a really fun platform to experiment, to personalize your drink. So I drew this up. So this is kind of a format that I came up with for our mixology certification. It basically kind of breaks down every single variable in your drink, and then it gives you kind of a roadmap, a mental framework to start substituting ingredients and really personalizing it. So
it's kind of like a choose your own adventure cocktail. You know, you start with the basic formula and then you say, well, what if I swap out the spirit? Or what if I want to change what the hot water is or the honey? You can kind of see, I mean, there actually is some technique behind this. And it's a perfectly valid way to take a very standard cocktail recipe and turn it into, I mean, there's probably dozens of different cocktails that you could make.
Oh, absolutely. And once you understand the framework for a drink, like we mentioned, you can really make it your own. You can personalize it. You can have a little bit of a wow factor if you have guests over. So I'll run through a little scenario here of how you can use this. So,
do you want me to hold this?
Sure, actually, if you don't mind.
I'll be your Vanna.
There we go. So we've already talked about this particular toddy, but let's say we want to spruce it up. We can do some interesting techniques. We did Infusion Month a couple of months ago. So let's say we want to do brandy this time. So we could do a cinnamon brandy. We can infuse it with cinnamon or ginger or any of those fall flavors or winter flavors. Then we could do a really fun tea, like a rooibos tea, or even like blood orange juice instead of hot water. So we'll heat that up as our kind of liquid. Then we choose a sweetener out here. I think that with a cinnamon brandy rooibos tea, maple syrup sounds super good.
I was so hoping you would choose that one.
So then we would go through that and say, okay, what other acid can I use? You could do lemon. I think lime with hot water might be a little bit weird, but you could definitely do it. Orange juice is really good for this. So you could do that, and it doesn't have quite the acidity, which might be nice. And then you have this brand new cocktail that you came up with yourself just by understanding this simple formula.
And this is a technique that, I mean, people generally refer to this overall technique as using a cocktail family.
Right.
And that's a term that you'll start to hear a lot if you get to start to dig into some really nerdy books, which we have because we're nerds like that. But you don't have to. You can see the basic concept here. And again, if you want to learn more about this, you can totally nerd out and join our certification program, but you don't need to. It's a very simple technique, and it's a really fun way for you to take whatever you have in your fridge and make yourself a toddy.
Yeah, there's oftentimes that we have to make a cocktail and I'm like, oh man, I'm not prepared. What do we have in the fridge? And I literally just raid the fridge, plug them into this formula, and it works. Like you could do jellies, like a really cool marmalade or something like that, a marmalade syrup, and that sounds super fancy.
Jams and jellies are like...
My jam!
I see what you did there. They're like an instant syrup. I mean, especially jellies, which don't have chunks in them, but just add hot water and you've got a syrup on your hands. So
Absolutely.
You can go crazy with that. But again, this is, what would you name this cocktail family? What's this one called?
I would just probably call it a toddy because that's the biggest, kind of most common drink. But basically you're just kind of stepping away one level up and putting everything into their like broad categories, if you will, for the drink. And you can do this to pretty much any cocktail.
If you like this idea, we can start trying to incorporate this into our future cocktail videos as well. Start adding in the cocktail family to each of them so you can see, like back it out of the recipe and see the sort of genre, and then you can kind of play with that in terms of making something with what you happen to have on hand.
I did the artwork myself. I'm pretty proud of it.
Look at this.
So fancy.
So talented. So talented. So can I have a sip?
Yeah, please.
Am I gonna burn myself?
Probably. It'll be on camera though, so don't worry about it.
I don't feel very confident right now. I'm all nervous.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. You knew I would say that. I have to say that, but it actually is really good.
Right. So thanks for joining us with this hot toddy recipe. Hopefully you can kind of come up with some of your own twists on this winter classic.
And even if you're not twisting the recipe, even if you're starting with the classic, it is a great choice. It's a delicious cocktail, and hopefully it's something that you will be able to enjoy.
So if you're interested in more knowledge about cocktail development and how something like this works out, definitely check out our page over at abarabove.com/certification. So happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.